Before we get into today's Vikings trade-focused mailbag, the bosses here at Chat Sports have been unimpressed with the likes on this channel. They think it means you guys don't care about our videos. So here is the gauntlet that's been laid down by my bosses here. If we do not get to 400 likes, we're just not going to do videos anymore. They'll go put me on a different fan base. The Packers were mentioned, which I would hate. So help us out. Help us allow us to continue to do Vikings videos. 408 likes on this video. Do your part by liking today's video right now. You're watching Minnesota Vikings Now. I am Tom Downey here with a trade mailbag, answering your questions that came into the comments section or the community here on Vikings Now. First up from Andrew Wine. Kenny Nwangu should have been a Pro Bowl reserve for special teams. I think he should have been a starter on special teams for Pro Bowl. He was awesome this past year. His suggestion, Christian Kirk and a second/fourth. I'm going to do both a second and fourth here for Trey Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo. So the trade details, Vikings get two quarterbacks, Jimmy Garoppolo, Trey Lance. Niners get the Vikings quarterback, Kirk Cousins, a second and a fourth. Now there is, of course, the Kyle Shanahan connection to Kirk Cousins. In the end, even though I would do this in a heartbeat, I don't see how the Niners say yes. I do believe that Kirk Cousins is a better quarterback than Jimmy Garoppolo, but remember, the Niners gave up 3 first-round picks to go draft Trey Lance. So I don't really see how and or why they would be open to giving up Lance and Garoppolo for Kirk a second and a fourth. They get better short term, but they want Lance to be the guy. So in the unusual event that the Niners were down to trade Trey Lance or Jimmy Garoppolo, I should say, would you do it? Type in T for trade or type in P for pass. More Kirk Cousins trade ideas here from Ozzy Osman. Cousins, Thielen, and a fourth for Hurts, Reagor, and a third. So again, the presentation here from Ozzy. You're downgrading at quarterback. I don't think Hurts is a true franchise guy. And although you hypothetically save money long-term with Cousins, I don't think you're upgrading at all at quarterback. You get a better draft pick back. But the real crux of the issue here is Adam Thielen in exchange for Jalen Reagor. Adam Thielen is still an awesome wide receiver. He had a down year last year that is better than the combined career production so far of Jalen Reagor. He has been a bust in Philadelphia. They would love to ship him off. So I think you got worse at receiver by a big-time margin. And frankly, I don't think you got any better at the quarterback spot. Maybe you believe in Jalen Hurts more long-term. I'm not so sure. From Angel however you pronounce it, my friend, do you honestly see this team that hasn't been over 500 in 3 years will somehow just magically find a way to be better than that? Your thoughts? I understand the concern there. Remember, this was a Vikings team, however, that has not been that far removed. They were 8-9 in 2021, 7-9 in 2020, 10-6 back in 2018. Their point differential last year was -1, meaning they lost a bunch of games by close margins. Now, they won some by close margins as well. 7 games last year they lost by a combined 18 points. I think the biggest reasons are kind of twofold here. You're looking at a team that in theory got better. They signed Zadarius Smith. They signed Jordan Hicks. They draft Lewis Seen. They brought back a bunch of their previous key pieces and hopefully upgraded at the head coaching / GM position. This team should have gotten better. And they play in the NFC. My answer to this would be very different if they played in the AFC, if they had to face that gauntlet. In the NFC, I think they're one of the top 7 teams. I think there's a very real chance Minnesota makes the playoffs this year because they have not been that far the past couple years, and they should be better off this season. So what I want you guys to do right now is predict the Vikings record this year. I'm going to make this question the pinned comments on today's video. So if the ad break comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there and get your record predictions in the comments. From Darius Tenney, is a Terry McLaurin trade possible? It is possible, but the routes you have to go to acquire him might not be the route you want to go. In large part because do you need Terry McLaurin? A trio of Adam Thielen, McLaurin, and Justin Jefferson is the best receiving trio in the NFL. Sorry, Bengals, it's not as good as what Minnesota would hypothetically have. McLaurin is a 1,000-yard guy with a rotating crop of that's a Freudian slip there, rotating crop of mediocre to bad quarterbacks with the Washington Commanders. Here's the issue you run into. McLaurin's going to want minimum $25 million per year. So you're paying Adam Thielen, you're paying Terry McLaurin, and oh, by the way, Justin Jefferson might be a $30 million guy for Minnesota. You're not going to invest that level of wide receiver contract investment into a position group. So you would have to move Jefferson or Thielen. Now, Thielen's probably easier, but do you still want to have to be paying $55 million per year at receiver? Yeah, I'm not so sure that you do. So what do you think? Should the Vikings trade for Terry McLaurin? I say no, but I want to hear from you guys. Y for yes or N for no? The NFL guy, Justin Jefferson to the Cardinals for DeAndre Hopkins and a third-round pick. So Hopkins goes to Minnesota with a third. Cardinals get Jefferson. I actually have a lot of issues with this particular one, in large part because I hate it for Minnesota. You are getting worse and older at the wide receiver spot. I think right now the Vikings obviously say, unless they're just committed to saving money, which I don't think you do that with Justin Jefferson. I truly believe, I think the numbers bear this out, that right this second, Justin Jefferson, suspension not even withstanding for DeAndre Hopkins, that Justin Jefferson is the better receiver and is going to be a much better receiver over the next 5 to 10 years. At some point, Hopkins will retire. It's not anti-Hopkins. This is pro-Justin Jefferson. He has been everything you wanted times 10 as your first-round pick. He has become one of the premier young receivers and premier receivers in the NFL. I'm not interested in trading a young, talented receiver to get an old, talented receiver when at minimum the talent levels are the same. So I say no, and I think the Minnesota Vikings say no as well. Our other big goal right now here at Vikings Now, beyond making sure you like the video, is to help us reach 5,000 subscribers. Just over 360 away. Let's keep it growing. Hit that big red button and subscribe for more Vikings videos. Now, this one from the NFL guy I'm a little bit more intrigued by. Alexander Mattison and a 7th for Boston Scott and a 5th. So you're swapping running backs and getting the better pick back. Now, in theory, of course, Dalvin Cook's going to be your lead guy. It's really a question of how committed are you to Alexander Mattison being a key part of this team for this year and hypothetically beyond next year. The production has been in favor of Alexander Mattison, but not by the biggest of margins. And from an efficiency standpoint last year, namely from the yards on the ground, Scott was more productive. Now, both guys are going to be free agents. So here's the way I approach it. If you are committed to not re-signing either, do the trade. Take the better draft pick and let Boston Scott be a pretty similar-ish running back backup for you. If you're not going to pay Mattison and you think Boston Scott's better hypothetically, which I'm not sure that he is, to do the trade as well. So when it comes to just the player, who would you rather have? AM for Alexander Mattison, BS for Boston Scott. I lean more towards AM because I know he works for this team, but it's a good question. So let me know, AM or BS. From Scotty Butterchops, it's quite the username, my friend. Would you trade a 5th-round pick for Jonnu Smith? Interesting idea here. The problem you're going to run into is Jonnu Smith has really never been that good of a football player. His best year was 448 yards. He was very much an overpay by the Patriots when they did that deal. From a contract perspective, the Patriots can't trade him. Do you want to pay about $10 million this year for Jonnu Smith? That's the cost it would require Minnesota. I do not. So I think it's a decent idea. If the Patriots eat some of that money or I redo his deal in some capacity, I've got some more interest, but I don't think he's worth that at this point in terms of a contract impact. Trade value was about right there, my friend. From Harvey Melber, I can't think of a specific name right now, but how about we trade for a proven kickoff/punt returner? I know Kenny Nwangu did great last year, but I feel he'd be better used in offensive packages rather than special teams. All this, let's try this guy. We're rotating to use sticks is killing me. The offense should be fine. Defense should improve. Focus on special teams. So I agree with you from a punt return perspective. They tried out a lot of different guys across the board at both spots. The best guy by far on kick returns was Kenny Nwangu. 2 touchdowns. That is probably not going to be sustained next year, but also awesome. He should have been a Pro Bowler like the guy at the beginning of today's show mentioned. So I do want to keep him on kick returns. On punt returns, I agree. They tried KJ Osborne. They tried D.D. Westbrook. They tried Amir Smith-Marset, Wayne Gallman, Mattison, etc. at kick/punt returners. So I think you can use Nwangu on offense more. Keep him as your kick returner. He was awesome in that role last year. Punt returner, yes, I would like to find somebody else. Maybe it's Nwangu. Maybe it's not. If you do want a trade name, by the way, guy that actually makes sense at a cheap cost actually could be Jalen Reagor. He's returned punts in the past. If you guys made it this far in the video and you haven't already done so, please like it. Clearly, you like what we're doing because you watched the entire trade mailbag. So if you haven't already shown us some support, do it right now. Like today's video.